In the last video, we talked about what a complex fraction is, and we did our first example problem. In this video, we're going to just try to get through some more examples so you get a better idea of how to divide complex fractions. So since we've already completed one, we're going to move on to number 2. In number 2, the problem is 5/4 divided by 6/7. Step 1, remember, we just copy down the numerator exactly as it's written on the page. And then next, you copy down the denominator, 6/7. And our memory device is the word nod. So you have the numerator written first, then the denominator. It is exactly what is in the original fraction. The next step is to remember that the fraction bar means division. So instead of writing a fraction bar, we're going to record a regular division symbol. The next step is to write keep, change, flip, or you could record keep, change, reciprocal. We keep the 5/4. It does not change. We change the division symbol to a multiplication symbol. And then we flip the 6/7, which means that we're trading the numerator and the denominator. So instead of 6/7, we're going to record 7/6. 7/6 is the reciprocal of 6/7. From here, we need to examine the problem. Can we reduce diagonally? So 4 and 7, can they be divided by the same factor? And they cannot. When you look at 5 and 6, the same thing is true. You cannot divide them by any number besides 1. And remember, if you divide 5 by 1, you get 5. You divide 6 by 1, you get 6. So it doesn't change it. It doesn't help you. Since we can't reduce diagonally, we're going to go ahead and do the final step where we multiply across. 5 times 7, we get 35. 4 times 6, we get 24. Since it is an improper fraction, it's possible for us to change this to a mixed number. To do that, you need to think about how many times 24 goes into 35. And 24 goes into 35 one time. Now compare the numbers 24 and 35. And we need to figure out what is left over when we take 24 away from 35. 5 minus 4, you get 1. 3 minus 2, you get 1. So the difference between 24 and 35 is 11. That difference goes in the numerator, and then you keep the denominator the same. You keep it as 24. You keep it 24. So you can either answer with the improper fraction, the answer would be 35/24, or you could answer and write down the mixed number, 1 and 11/24. Both of those are equivalent numbers. Let's take a look at number 3. 8/9 divided by 4/7. Step 1, we record the numerator. So that's the numerator. We just recorded it exactly as it was written. Next, we record the denominator. The denominator is 4/7. I copy 4/7 exactly as it was written over here, over below the D right here. The next step is to replace the fraction bar, that division symbol, with a regular division symbol. Below this, I'm going to record keep, change, flip, or you can write keep, change, reciprocal. I keep the 8/9. I change the division symbol to a multiplication symbol. And then I write the reciprocal of 4/7. The reciprocal of 4/7 is 7/4. If I want to think about it as flipping it, you're trading out the numerator and the denominator. You're flipping the fraction to create the reciprocal. At this point, I need to examine the numbers that are diagonal from each other. I notice that 8 and 4 are both divisible by the same number. They're both divisible by 2. So I'm going to write in smaller writing, divided by 4 to show what I'm dividing by. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So I'm going to cross that out, write a 2, and then I'm going to circle my new number so it's clear that there's no longer an 8 here, it's now a 2. 4 divided by 4, I'm going to cross that out and put a 1. Now I have a 1. I examine 2 and 1 again. I can't divide 2 and 1 again. That's as simple as it gets. When I compare the 9 and the 7, 9 and 7 cannot be divided by the same number. So that's as simple as those get. So I am ready, now that I've reduced diagonally, to multiply across. Now be careful, we're not using the 8. The 8's been crossed out. We're using the 2 and we're using the 7. 2 times 7 gives you 14. Then in the denominators, we're going to be multiplying, I kind of crossed that out, but we're multiplying 9 by the 1. And we get 9. So this would be 14 ninths. 14 ninths we're also going to change to a mixed number. 9 goes into 14 one time. Then we need to find the difference between 14 and 9. 14 minus 9 is 5. So we write a 5 here. And then in the denominator, we write a 9. You keep the denominator the same. So you could answer with an improper fraction, 14 ninths, or you could answer with a mixed number, 1 and 5 ninths. If you want to check your work and go back to the improper fraction, you would multiply this number, 1, by the denominator 9, you would get 9. Then you add the numerator, which is 5, which will give you 14. And it's a way of checking your work. We got 14, so we did that properly. We changed the improper fraction to the mixed number 1 and 5 ninths, and then we checked our work, and it would take us right back to 14 ninths. Let's look at number 4. Number 4, 11 twelfths divided by 4 ninths. Step 1, record the numerator. So the numerator I copied exactly. Step 2, record the denominator. The denominator is 4 ninths. Then I replace the fraction bar division symbol with a regular division symbol. Next, I write the letters K, C, F, or you could write K, C, R. K is for keep. I keep the 11 twelfths. C is for change. I change the division symbol to a multiplication symbol. We'll use the reciprocal this time. The reciprocal of 4 ninths is 9/4. You could also think of it as flipping. You're trading the numerator and the denominator. And then I need to see if I can reduce diagonally. So I can take 12 and divide it by 3, and I can take 9 and divide it by 3. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. And I'm going to circle my new numbers. And then I'm going to compare 4 to 3. Can I reduce 4 and 3 any further? And the answer to that is no. 4 and 3 cannot be divided by the same number. Take a look at 11 and 4. 11 is a prime number. 11 and 4 are not both divisible by the same number, so you can't simplify those diagonally. So the next step is to multiply across. I multiply the 11 by the 3, and I get 33. I multiply in the denominator, you'll see that this is already gone, so I have a 4 being multiplied by a 4, and I get 16. Now we need to think about if we want to change this to a mixed number. This is an improper fraction currently. If I want to write it as a mixed number, I think about how many times 16 goes into 33. 16 plus 16 is 32. If I add 16 to 32, that's going to be too much. So I'm going to use 2. 16 goes into 33 2 times. 16 times 2 is 32. So now I need to compare the 33 and the 32 and see the difference between them. The difference is only 1. And in the denominator, I keep the same denominator. I write 16. If you want to go back and check your work, if you're not sure if 2 and 1/16 is actually the correct mixed number, you can go backwards and multiply 2 by 16. 6 times 2 is 12, carry the 1. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Okay, 16 times 2 is 32. And I add the 1. I add 1, and I get 33. So that would be 33 over 16, which is the improper fraction that we had originally. So 2 and 1/16 is the answer as a mixed number. 33/16 is the answer as an improper fraction. And that's the last example we're going to do in this video.